All right, appreciate everyone joining us for Coach's weekly press conference. We'll start with an opening statement from Coach, and then we'll open it up to questions.
So, like always, appreciate you guys coming out and covering Penn State football. Couple things just to cover with you guys from really last week. Going back and watching the film was good. It was about what we anticipated. In terms of how it felt during the game, and then be able to watch a tape and go through and grade it. I think you guys already seen players of the games and things like that. One of the things I think was interesting is if you do a statistical comparison between our West Virginia game last year and our West Virginia game this year, no one's really talking about our defense, and our defense really played well. If you look last year, we gave up 15 points. This year we gave up 12. So we were better in that. We were better in points per possession. We were better in explosive plays. We were better in total yards allowed. We were better in rushing yards allowed. We were better in yards per carry. We were better in yards, passing yards allowed, yards per attempt. Third down efficiency was exactly the same, which was interesting. We were better in average third down yardage forced. We were better in takeaways. The only category we weren't better in was sacks. We had 3 last year. We had 2 this year. Red zone touchdown percentage. We were better. Time of possession better. And then QBR significantly better of the opposing quarterback. So, I think on a real positive note, our defense played better, and then not only did they play better, they played better on the road without the home environment. So those were positive. Turnover battle, you guys know we won. Explosive play battle, we won. Third down battle, we won. Sack battle, we won. We got to clean up, really drive start. And when I say clean up, drive start, I didn't feel like we kicked the ball as well as we're capable of kicking. That is kickoff, that is punts, that is field goals, really all 3 phases. And then penalties. We just gave too many yards away trying to be aggressive, and we got to eliminate those things. So a lot of positives there. Few more notes, in terms of offensively, defensively, and special teams. Positives on offense, we were explosive and physical. We got to be better in ball security and some of the pre-snap things. Defensively, we did a great job stopping the run. We limited explosive plays. I think we only had 1. Sudden change response, that takeaway was huge. That was a huge play in the game. And then 0 points in the third quarter. I think you guys also know, I think we have the longest streak in the country of not giving up a touchdown to start a game. So that's been a real positive for us. Areas for growth, the penalties, just overall communication and substitutions. And then special teams, I thought we played really physical. There's some really physical clips on tape from our special teams. And then opportunities for growth, like I talked about, we got to kick the ball a little bit better. We did have a substitution error, and then we did have to burn 3 timeouts, 1 on offense, 1 on defense, and 1 on special teams. So that's not what we're looking to do. And then for this week in Bowling Green, Scott Leffler, the head coach there, we know Scott pretty well. Been a guy that's been in this conference, obviously played at Michigan. We know them very well. Frank Leonard and him were on staff together at Boston College. So I've got a ton of respect for him and his career and what he's been able to do. You look at them offensively, it's essentially his offense. He calls the offense, has done that for most of his career. And they did a really good job and put up big numbers this past week. They're a run-first offense predominantly. But they do a good job at the quarterback position and taking shots where appropriate. We've been impressed with their tight end number 0, Harold Fannin. Their running back number 4, Terrion Stewart. And then their quarterback, Connor Bazelak, who also has got some history here in the Big Ten as well. And then defensively, Steve Morrison and Sammy Lawson running the defense over there. And, from what we've seen on tape so far, they're going to create some challenges. I would say, looking at their team in general, they're a bigger, more physical team than what I anticipated. You look at them on film, but then also look at their numbers. They're a big physical group. This is a team that's going to play combination of odd and even front. They're primarily a middle of the field open defense, but they will close it up and play some zone cover 3 and a decent amount of pressure as well. Guys that we've been impressed with is their cornerback number 1, their defensive end number 5, and then their linebacker number 3. Very, very productive players. And then on special teams, Alex Bayer does a nice job for them in coordinating their special teams. Right now, their rankings and statistics are really good. Obviously, they returned the opening kickoff of their game for a touchdown. Their kick returner number 20 and their punter number 41 are guys that we've been impressed with. So still early in the week, kind of figuring out who they are right now, putting the game plans together. Obviously, we do not have practice today. It's a game planning day for us, and the players are in the building watching film on their own. And then Tuesday we'll have practice, and then see you guys out there for a portion of practice. No changes on the depth chart at this time, and no changes to the red, yellow, or green list that you guys are aware of. So open up to questions.
Let's go to Rich Scarcella on Zoom, followed by Frank Bodani.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. James, Smith Filbert is somebody who more or less missed 2 seasons, and I was just wondering, to see him have the impact he did Saturday, and what was going through your mind, and also what do you think kept him going to persevere through everything?
Well, I think the first thing I'd say is I think you guys remember me talking about Smith as a guy that no one's really talking about, that I think is going to have a big year for us. And a big part of it is it's understandable, right? He missed essentially 2 years of football. But, you're talking about a guy who was a high-level basketball player when we recruited him. He's 6'6", he's 280 pounds, he can run, he can bend, he's aggressive. And he's mature. You got a mature football player. So, I'm proud of him. He's also a guy that got his degree. He's done it right from that standpoint. And I know he's extremely hungry this year with as much time as he's invested to really help this team as much as he possibly can, to help the defense as much as he can. And obviously also to have a big year for himself and for his family. So, I think you guys are going to continue to be talking about him a lot this year. I think there'll be a lot of conversations about him, on a national scale as well. Those guys are hard to find. Guys that have a chance to be physical against the run, but can also be disruptive as pass rushers. His length is an issue for people. But I'm really proud of him. I think he's going to have a big year, and I'm glad you asked about him.
Let's go to Frank Bodani, followed by Mark Wogenrich. Frank may have hopped off. Let's go to Mark Wogenrich and then Mike Gross.
James, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. You mentioned specifically a lot about the defense. How did you think Abdul Carter did in his first go-around at that, playing mostly a defensive end?
Yeah, I think he, to your point, I think he predominantly played defensive end, except with some of the, some of the third down packages where we just kind of moved him around. But yeah, I thought he played really well. He was disruptive. We talk all the time in our building about, real football people study more than just statistics. So there's times where, he's taken on 2 blockers where a couple of them I think could have been called holding, where he's splitting 2 blockers and they're unable to come off on either a linebacker or another defensive lineman, gets the sack or the tackle for the loss. Obviously there's some of the, the pre-snap and the post-snap penalties we got to get cleaned up for sure. But overall, at that his first game as a full-time defensive end, was very disruptive, and I think he's just going to get better each week. You guys know there's been a bunch of buzz about him for his ability on the field, but I'm also really proud of his growth off the field. We were able to have some conversations yesterday about the penalties and just the way he approached it, his maturity, his ability to take some constructive criticism and be accountable for it was really, really impressive. So I'm proud of him. I think he's going to have a big year for us, and I think he's setting himself up for really bright things in his future as well.
Let's go to Mike Gross, followed by Johnny McGonigal.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Good, Mike. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You kind of anticipated my question with your opening stuff about the defense, but thinking about last year as a barometer and against West Virginia, and what your defense, became last year, it seems like maybe you're a little ahead of where you were last year based on that West Virginia barometer. So why do you think that is, if indeed that is?
Well, I think, it's a small snapshot, right, for all of us, offense, defense, and special teams. And for us, we just got to say, okay, these are the things we did well. These are the things we got to do better. And then, find a way to work on these things each week and refine and get better. So I think your point is a fair one, but it is small amount of data. But it's a really good starting point, because I think West Virginia's offense is going to give people problems. It gave us problems last year, specifically running the ball. We went into that game with a ton of respect for their O-line, with a ton of respect for their quarterback and the 2 running backs, and we still feel that way. So I think that's probably the biggest thing for me, is that's a team that prides himself on running the ball, and they weren't able to be overly productive against us running the ball. And then if you look at the quarterback's QBR last year compared to this year, it was a significant difference. So I think it's a really good starting point. It's a foundation to build on, but we got to build on it and we got to get better.
Let's go to Johnny McGonigal, followed by Neil Riddell.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. What was your assessment of Anthony Donko at right tackle?
Yeah, we're real high on Anthony. He's such a conscientious young man. He's extremely intelligent, both from a football IQ standpoint, but also, in the classroom. And he's very, very athletic. There's a lot of good signs about his habits early on, as you guys have heard me talk about, the consistency and the intelligence that he has. So he's another guy that, I think is just going to get better and better as the year goes on. We also plan on playing Rucci more, getting Rucci some opportunities as well. But Donka's playing really well in the 2 games that we've been able to kind of watch him and evaluate him. But it's also what we see in the weight room. It's what we see in summer workouts and winter workouts, and what we saw throughout training camp too.
Let's go to Neil Riddell, followed by Mark Brennan.
Hey, James. I
Hey,
was
Neil.
wondering, happy Labor Day there.
You too.
Xander's miss. I know you look like you showed confidence in him, to take that shot. Would you like to have got him, a closer field goal for to get started with? Can you walk through that a little bit?
Yeah, the plan was there to either go for it on 4th down. If I remember correctly, I think it was like 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 9 at the time. and we were planning on going for it and trying to get it to 4th and 5 or, a shorter field goal. I think we ran the ball in that situation. I think we ran an option play with Bo, and I don't think we gained a whole lot. So now you're stuck in a tough situation. Do you want to go for it on 4th and 10? Didn't feel like that was the right thing to do. Take a shot at a field goal. Or sky punt. We had sky punted earlier in the game and kicked it into the end zone, which is like the worst thing you can do in a sky punt situation, because if you do that, then you should have gone for it on 4th down. And obviously we wanted to give him an opportunity to get a field goal and start on the right foot. So not ideal, probably all the way around, offense, and special teams. So yeah, I think your question is a fair one. But yeah, we got a ton of confidence in him based on what he did all training camp and what he did all spring ball, and I know he'll make the next one.
Please raise your hand. We'll take a mic to you. We'll start with Mark.
Hey James, thanks for your time.
You too, Mark.
What was your assessment of Julian's play? I think you mentioned it with Abdul. A lot of times some people look at a stat sheet and think, boy, there's no numbers there. But overall, how do you think he played in that game?
Yeah, we thought he played really well. There was a couple times where we tried to get the ball to him, but again, based on coverage, it just didn't play out that way. We definitely want to get him more involved in this game early in the game. But I think the most important thing is the things that he could control, he controlled. He blocked really well. He ran really good routes. If you go back and watch the play that we threw the touchdown, Bo threw the touchdown to Tyler Warren, that's because of Julian. Julian, basically it's almost like a 3 vertical scheme where he's got to get to the backside hash, but before going to the backside hash, he attacks the safety in the middle of the field and crosses his face, which occupies the safety and doesn't allow him to slide over and get into the window of where we threw the ball to Tyler Warren. And here he is late in the game, still running, great routes to put us in a position to make big plays. You could say the same thing for the ball that we threw to Trey. He runs a corner route, pulls the safety out of the window, allows Trey to get hit, on the skinny post or seam or however you want to describe it, for the touchdown. So the things that he could control played very, very well. And again, just like we talked about earlier, those are the things we talk about in our building. Those are the things that, for these guys' futures that they watch. Obviously, you'd love stats to go with it, and those will come. We're confident in that. But I thought he played very well.
Let's go to Tyler and then John.
Hey, James.
Hey, John.
Bo Prabula and his usage throughout the game early, often. I'm curious how you would kind of evaluate how it went game 1 and what you ultimately would like to maximize from that situation moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's a real positive for us because although Drew obviously is showing he can make plays with his feet, Bo has that ability, maybe at a little bit different level and a little bit more of a playmaker. So being able to get him on the field and really challenge the defense, and we have a ton of different ways that we're going to be able to do that with both of them on the field or just Bo on the field, and ways that we can take advantage of it and just pure runs, pure passes, and then some of the things that we can do, with Bo in the game as a runner, Bo in the game as a receiver, Bo in the game in a lot of different ways. So, being able to each week add to that package so that the defense can't put you into a package, when he comes on the field. If Drew is on the sideline and Bo comes in, they're able to go to a true wildcat package. And for us, we want to, just like we did last year, try to build as much around this that they can't do that they have to. Even the throw that we just got done talking about to Tyler Warren, that causes some issues now if you just want to put him into a wildcat package mentality. So All those things are really important. We want to be able to use him throughout the game. That I think I mentioned to you guys after the game, that was the approach in the 2-point play, to get started right away, to get him involved as early as possible, and we felt good about the concept. But we want to continue to do that, but we also want to make sure, like I already mentioned, that it's not the same things that you're seeing out of him each week.
John?
Hey, James.
Hey, John.
We saw Caden Saunders on punt returns, but not on offense. Was that related to the bumps and bruises you said that he had, and how do you think the other receivers stepped up without him playing?
Yeah, so we weren't sure if he was going to be able to go, and the plan was as long as the doctors and trainers and Caden felt like he could go, we were only going to use him as a punt returner in the game. On top of that, the way that West Virginia punted the ball, end over end, more of a hang time type of team. We thought it was going to be mainly a fair catch game anyway, so felt like he was able to do that, but we're hoping that we'll have him back, as not just a return man, but also as a, receiver this week as well. And then I think your question about the other wide receivers, again, I thought the group played well. We had some other bumps and bruises as well, and I think we're through now. But we'd like to get as many guys involved, because I think one of the things when you talk about balance, is not really the ability to be 50% run, 50% pass in the game. It's having the ability to run or pass in any given situation, but also like Mike Leach, talked about, balance is also ball distribution. That the defense isn't just concerned about one player that they need to eliminate, that they realize and see through film that there's 7, 8 guys that can get the ball and can make plays. That's running backs, that's tight ends, that's receivers, and the ball can be distributed across the field, making them defend all 53 and a third and all 120.
In the back, T. Frank.
James, how you doing today?
Good, D. Frank, you?
Good. I actually want to ask you about that connection between Drew and Trey. Obviously, a big game from both of them with the explosive plays, but I was curious your assessment of their chemistry together, and was there an opportunity for even more in that game that you saw that they could work on and kind of get on the same page, or were those situations different than that?
Yeah, again, I think I'm just trying to be careful that we don't jump to too many assumptions based on one game, and a limited amount of data. What I would say is, when you talk about missed opportunities, you guys probably saw the play action pass we ran out unbalanced, I think it was, and Nick Singleton should have aborted his fake, because typically when you have play action pass and your man comes, you abort the fake and go pick him up right now. And I think you guys probably saw the play with Omari running wide open down the middle of the field, that the pressure got us off of it. So talk about a missed opportunity. That was a missed opportunity there, and things that will get cleaned up. But I think Drew and all of the wide receivers and tight ends have worked really hard all summer, as well as Bo, to build that chemistry, and to build that timing, and that confidence that we're going to need. So we got to build on it this week during practice. We're going to build on it, this week in Beaver Stadium, and being able to throw the ball at a high level to go along with our rushing attack is going to be really important to put us in the best position to be successful this week, but also moving forward throughout the rest of the season.
Audrey.
Hey, James.
Hey, Audrey.
How do you feel like Katron Allen did? Obviously a productive day for Nick, but how do you feel like Katron kind of balanced his role now?
Yeah, it's funny, because again, stats can be deceiving, right? Like, I think the biggest thing you're looking for is, what do you do with the plays that you get and the production that you get? And I think the easy thing is to look at the stats column and say, one guy averages 7 yards a carry, another guy averages 3 yards a carry, or whatever it may be. I think the more important thing is to look at the film. Nick happened to be in a couple plays where the play was blocked up and literally he didn't get touched for 45 yards, or the first opportunity for contact is in the backfield, with the defensive back. The reality is the plays that you got as a running back, if the play was blocked up to gain 3 and you gained 4, that's a positive run. So just the way things played out, the way their defense defended some runs, Nick had the ability to create a few more explosive plays, but it wasn't anything from the standpoint, the lack of something that Katron did. It's just maximizing the runs you get, and there's going to be some games where Katron's in and they call a defensive alignment or a defensive movement that creates an opportunity that we're able to take advantage of, and Katron, averages 8 yards a carry, and Nick, averages 2 yards or 3 yards or whatever it may be in the game. That's just how football goes. So, we think we got 2 backs that, are 2 of the better backs in the country, and we think we got a 3rd one, a 4th one, and a 5th one that are developing and that we're excited about too.
Seth.
Hey James, after watching some of the film, how would you just overall evaluate Coach K's first game? And have you heard any, early feedback maybe from players or coaches about what it's like to be in a game under his system?
Yeah, I think it was good. I think it was good. I think he did a really good job. Obviously, when you're able to do the things that we were able to do in this game on offense, in terms of running the ball, in terms of throwing the ball, in terms of explosive plays, it's definitely something to build on. And then also the fact that we were able to create touchdowns and not turn the ball over, your touchdown to interception ratio, that continues to be a strength of ours. Drew's done a really good job of that, last year and started out this year the right way from that standpoint. So, yeah, I think there's a ton of excitement. I think you guys have heard me say before, I think it's been more balanced during all training camp. I think it was more balanced, in the West Virginia game as well. So, yeah, a lot of excitement, a ton to build on, and it's been fun working with all 3 of those guys.
Over in the back left, Jared.
Hey, Coach Franklin.
Hey, Jared.
Kind of following up on that, Nick was able to rush for a touchdown, multiple touchdown catchers, multiple touchdown passers. How hard does that make it for other teams to game plan for you guys?
Yeah, that goes back to the comment I was making earlier about, balance, and when you're able to bring multiple quarterbacks in and create explosive plays and touchdowns, and you're able to bring multiple running backs in and get them involved in not only the run game but also the pass game and tight ends and wide receiver. I think we did a good job of that, but I still think there's a lot of room for growth there. Getting other guys touches, getting other guys opportunities. I think that's really important. I think a big one that we talked about is we got to be better on 3rd down. And why that is so important is, number one, so we don't get into a situation in the first half where our defense is on the field too long. You look at the play differential in the first half, not a positive for us. So by being better on 3rd down keeps our offense on the field longer and does 2 very important things. It keeps our defense off the field. But the other thing it does, it creates more offensive plays. And whenever you have more plays, obviously, it creates more opportunities for other guys to get touches or for certain guys to get more touches. So I think those things are real important. And then I think, our defense plays a part in that as well, being able to create some 3 and outs. Our offense staying on the field, our defense getting off the field, and creating more opportunities for touches and more opportunities for explosive plays and more opportunities for scoring points.
In the middle, Max.
Hey, James.
Hey, Max.
We talked a lot in the offseason about the potential of the cornerback room without seeing it yet. What did Kimber and Harris do to earn the start, and what are your takeaways from that group as a whole?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a rotation there. We feel like we got 6 guys that all can play, and I think you'll see a little bit of a rotation. We'll see how this week goes, but different guys starting based on how they practice that week, like a true competition based on weekly production and weekly practice habits. I think Elliott's another great example. He played really well on special teams, starting at 4 units, and then also got reps at corner and made a huge interception, which was a big time play. So I don't think I'd be careful if I was you guys, not just at corner, but a lot of positions, feeling like the guys that started in game 1 are going to be the exact starters in week 2 or throughout the year.
You got time for 2 more in the back, Allie?
Hey James, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. How do you attack this week knowing that on the back end is a really early season bye week? How much do you want to see from your guys before you get a break 2 games in? And how important is this being back at home, being able to settle some of those things that might have been challenges on the road?
Yeah, this week it doesn't really change. We'll stick to our normal routine. Obviously, next week having 2 buys and how that factors in. Spent a ton of time, this summer as well as last week, talking to Andrew Nelson about that, talking to Tom Allen about that, talking to Justin Lustig about that, talking to Andy Kotelnicki about that in terms of what did Kansas do during the bye week, what did Indiana do during the bye week, what did Vanderbilt do during the bye week, what do some of the NFL organizations do, what do some other programs that we have close connections, what do they do? Get with Andrew Nelson about what's the appropriate thing to do and any tweaks that we need to make to our process. And then also the fact, again, that we got 2 buys and how do we approach that. So it won't really change anything for this week. But obviously, next week, all those things and all those decisions that we made, we'll execute them. I don't see a whole lot of changes because the feedback that we got from a lot of the places that we looked at are similar. But we try to do as much after action review as we can. I actually was talking to Andrew Nelson this morning about that, Nelly, about training camp. I wanted him to go back and revisit all of training camp and any suggestions he would make, and then me and Ben Kerr documented them for next year and already made the adjustments on next year practice shells for training camps and things that we think we could do a little bit better. And then we'll do the same thing after this first bye week. We'll look at it afterwards and say, okay, now with the second bye week and later in the season and obvious wear and tear that's going to occur, how do we handle the second bye week different than the first bye week, excuse me. So, but I don't see a whole lot of changes this week in our approach.
Last question, Daniel.
How's it going today, James?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. We saw a more demonstrative side out of Drew.
Demonstrative, I like that.
On Saturday.
Where'd you go to college?
I don't know if I can answer that.
I want to know, and the fact that you're nervous to answer it is
University of Maryland.
Oh, Terp.
We overlapped for a year.
Nice.
In 2010.
2010. Nice. Demonstrative. Is that a good year, 2010?
Yeah. We saw Drew, with the official after the cadence. We saw him signaling first down.
Now, did you guys go back and watch that play on the TV copy? Mm-hmm. What did you guys think?
Probably not a coincidence that he.
Yeah, I'm not talking about hearing things. You guys see the guy clapping. Yeah, it's pretty obvious on TV. It's interesting. I don't know if everybody saw that, but I want to clear that up before I answer your question. I think a lot of people thought that that's what they were reviewing. That's a non-reviewable play. So I think there was some confusion about that as well. Sorry, back to Maryland and your other question.
But we saw, drawing with West Virginia players, the defenders said that this is a different side of Drew that they haven't really seen that much. What has it been like bringing that part out of him, and what has gone into getting him to be this comfortable and kind of showing this side of him?
Well, I think part of it too, right, is it's year 2 for him as the starting quarterback and year 3 in the program. So he shouldn't look the same. He shouldn't behave the same. There should be growth. There should be more confidence. There should be more swagger. Because he's earned that, right? You know, confidence is something you earn. It's not something that you give. It's something you've earned. And he's worked really hard, and you see it in his play. That stiff arm was a credit to our strength and conditioning program, but it's also a credit to Drew and the work that he's put in. And I also think for that to happen on our sideline, and for our sideline to see that and see him make a play like that he has not made in the past, and then to react the way he reacted was really pretty cool. And I think all the points you make are fair, but again, I think some of that is our Danny O'Brien, Andy, Kotelnicki, our coaching about things that he did well last year and things that he needs to do better this year. But I think it's also just part of his maturation process and his being comfortable with being the starting quarterback at Penn State and everything that comes with it. But I think the word you used, I think was a really good word to describe it. And I don't know if I necessarily would have said that I knew that was coming, but I sure was glad it happened.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good day.
You too.